When HOA Karen's guests stormed onto my private fishing lake, I calmly told them to leave. She screeched that it was community property, then called the cops, certain she'd win. But when the officers checked the deed and found the lake listed under my name, her scream turned into silence. If peace had a sound, for me it was the gentle plop of a fishing line breaking the surface of the lake behind my cabin. No traffic, no phones. Just the call of loons and the creak of a dock I built by hand. That lake wasn't just a pond with water, it was the reason I bought the property 15 years ago. 8 acres of land, 2 of them covered by crystal clear water fed by a natural spring, deeded in my name and maintained out of my own pocket. The HOA line ended a quarter-mile down the gravel road. But 5 years ago, when Brookwood Shores HOA expanded, they decided my lake looked too nice to be private, and their president, Karen Hensley, made it her personal mission to integrate it into the community amenities. She'd sent letters, threats, and even a proposal offering to let me keep access privileges if I allowed HOA residents to fish and boat. I declined politely, pointing to my deed. But politeness is like chum to a shark. She smelled it as weakness. At first, she sent kids. Teenagers cutting across my fence line, claiming everyone uses the lake now. Then came adults, folding chairs and coolers in hand. I confronted a few, but they'd shrug and say, "Karen said it's okay. She runs the HOA. That was the day I put up the first private property signs, reflective metal, mounted on posts sunk deep." I emailed the HOA's board directly. Any future entry will be considered trespassing. The lake is privately owned under Parcel 214B, recorded 2008. You have no authority or easement. The response was silence. Until one Saturday morning, when I heard voices where no one should have been. I walked out with my thermos and my calmest tone. There they were, 6 strangers, rods already in the water, a small pop-up canopy on the dock. And beside them, the unmistakable white Lexus SUV with HOA President vanity plate parked by my gate. "Morning," I called out, walking closer. "This is private property. I'm going to need you to leave." A woman in oversized sunglasses turned, Karen herself, holding a clipboard as if she were auditing the sky. "Actually," she said with a too-sweet smile, "it's not. We voted last week to designate this lake as community property for recreational use." "You voted to take my land?" She tilted her head. "Well, it's adjacent to our neighborhood and benefits everyone. You should be happy. Property values go up when you share resources." "Ma'am," I said, voice steady, "you don't get to vote away a deed." "I own this lake," Karen folded her arms. "No, you don't. The water body touches our boundary, so it's part of the common watershed. That makes it communal under the HOA charter. That's not how property law works." "Oh, really?" she said smugly, pulling out her phone. "Let's ask the sheriff." 10 minutes later, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A county sheriff's truck pulled up. 2 deputies stepped out, one older, clearly weary of weekend nonsense. Karen marched up to them, voice high and theatrical. "Officers, he's threatening us on community property. We're just fishing and he's harassing residents." The deputies exchanged looks, then one gestured toward me. "Sir, what's going on?" I kept it calm. "This is my private lake. They trespassed after being told not to," Karen scoffed. "He's lying. This lake borders our HOA. The community voted it's shared land now." The older deputy sighed, pulling out a notepad. "Ma'am, voting doesn't override property records. Do you have any documentation showing the HOA owns this lake?" Karen looked thrown for half a second, then recovered. "Our maps show it inside our perimeter. The water connects to our runoff channels, so technically," he held up a hand. "Technically doesn't count. Property lines do." I opened my truck, pulled out a binder I'd kept for years. Inside, my original warranty deed, county surveyor's map, and the hydrology report showing the lake entirely within Parcel 214B. The deputy reviewed them, eyebrows rising. "This is clear," he said. "Lake, dock, and shoreline are all inside your property boundary. HOA jurisdiction stops here." Karen's face went crimson. "That can't be right. We've used it for years." "Actually," I said, "for the last 6 months, you've been trespassing. I've got security footage of every time it's happened." The deputy turned to her. "Ma'am, unless you can show proof of ownership or easement, you need to gather your guests and leave." Karen wasn't done. She jabbed a finger toward the lake. "We voted," he cut her off, tone sharp. "Ma'am, a homeowners association can't vote to seize private land. That's called encroachment. You keep this up, and the county attorney will call it criminal trespass." Karen opened and closed her mouth, the clipboard trembling slightly in her grip. Then came the final blow. The deputy turned to me. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" I hesitated, then shook my head. "Not today. Just want them off my property," the deputy nodded. "Understood," Karen sputtered. "This isn't over. You'll be hearing from our attorney." "Good," I said. "Tell him to bring the plat maps. I'll bring the law." Her guests awkwardly folded their chairs. Someone muttered, "We didn't know," and they trudged toward the Lexus in silence. As the vehicles left, the deputy turned to me, grin half hidden. "You weren't kidding when you said HOA trouble, huh?" "Never am," I said, shaking his hand. "Thanks for setting it straight." He tipped his hat. "Just make sure your signs stay up. And maybe get cameras. People like her don't quit easy." I smiled. "Already did." Karen didn't show up for 2 weeks. Then a letter, formal, full of legal buzzwords, arrived in my mailbox. "We hereby notify you that Brookwood Shores HOA claims partial recreational rights to Lake Brookwood per community vote dated July 14th. I laughed. Then I called my lawyer, a retired JAG officer who lived for this kind of thing. He read the letter twice and said, "Oh, she's about to regret that." He drafted a formal response, copied to the county recorder and the HOA board. It began simply, "Your correspondence constitutes attempted claim on private land. Be advised, any further encroachment or unauthorized access will be treated as willful trespass under state statute 49(6)b. Future violations will result in civil penalties and referral to law enforcement." I sent it certified. 3 days later, Karen's lawyer withdrew the claim, but that wasn't the end. At the next HOA meeting, several residents, tired of Karen's crusades, confronted her. One man shouted, "You embarrassed us all. You called the cops on a homeowner who owns the lake." Another said, "She told us it was community property. We could have been fined." The story spread fast. Within a month, she'd been voted out as president. Her replacement, a mild retiree named Susan, stopped by one afternoon with cookies and an apology. "We didn't know," she said. "She told everyone you were bluffing." "Not bluffing," I said, smiling. "Just fishing." From that day, no one trespassed again. I repaired the dock, added 2 new benches, and built a small wooden sign by the gate. Private lake, owner maintained. Since 2008. Respect goes both ways. Every time I cast my line now, I think about that Saturday, how quickly arrogance can sink when faced with proof and patience. And sometimes, when the water's still and the sun catches the surface just right, I swear I can almost hear her voice echoing faintly across the lake. "Community property," before fading into the ripples.